Hi, I'm Stephen Brown, and this is Deep Dive App Review, where we'll be taking a closer look into some QuickBooks partner apps. I'm joined by my friends Monique Swansen and Brian Clare. So Monique, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm the founder and CEO of Automated Accounting Services, and we are a small boutique client accounting services firm.
Awesome. Brian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Brian Clare. I'm from Canada. I'm the only Canadian on this panel, actually. But I'm the founder and partner at Blueprint Accounting Inc. We're in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and we do bookkeeping, tax, and virtual CFO services.
And I'm Stephen Brown with Ledger Gurus. And Ledger Gurus, we are a client accounting services firm focused on e-commerce accounting. Let's dive into the apps. So we're going to go through these apps in groups. The first one we're going to talk about is banking, AP, and expense apps. And I'm going to take the first one. First one we're going to talk about is Bill.com. Bill.com's been around for quite a while, fairly well known. Some of their top features. I love Bill.com. We use it in our firm. And I really break it down to a couple key features. So first, they have the ability to do bill creation and syncing. So you can capture bills via email, via an app, via an upload of documents. Then you have a robust customizable workflow, approval workflow, which is really awesome when you're trying to put controls around spend. And then it ends with payment automation, the ability to automate payments, whether it's by check, ACH, or wire. Now, what some people may or may not know is Bill.com this year has been acquiring businesses. So they acquired Divvy, which does, I call it like smart corporate cards. So corporate cards that have budgeting and a really great portal behind them. So you really have good controls over that spend. And they also acquired Invoice2Go, which is really more on the receivables side. Bill.com has had a receivables module for years, but Invoice2Go, I expect, will juice them up in a big way. So Bill.com's got a lot going on. Monique, I know you use Bill.com. What do you like about Bill.com?
Yeah, we've been using it in our firm since 2016. So we've been using it for a good long while. And it certainly has the best multi-level approval process of any bill pay app that I've looked at so far. So that's one of my favorite features. And the fact that you can upload from apps. So we generally use an app to send that the e-document over for the approval process so that the approver has the ability to see the actual bill that they're approving.
Awesome. Yeah, so Bill.com is a great app, and they've definitely something worth checking out. Let's move on to the next one. Monique, why don't you tell us a little bit about Dext?
So Dext is it's a document capture app, ultimately. And we've also been using this one since 2016. So pretty much when we decided to go all cloud, we adapted a tech stack, and Dext was, at the time it was Receipt Bank, was a major part of that. And I think they have the best OCR of any of the capture apps by far. And they also have a great rules section. You can set up rules based on many, many different factors so that it automatically sort of categorizes the thing that you want the way you want it. We use it with Bill.com. We send things to Bill.com. We also use the expense reporting. So even though that's not as robust as some of the other expense apps, we use it. We use it with Gusto for some clients, where we send over the reimbursable expenses directly from the expense report. And we also use it to reimburse through Bill.com as vendor as well.
And Brian, you use Dext as well. Tell us what your perspective is, what the features you like, and just how you use it.
Yeah, for sure. So just to give some perspective on how we use Dext, is actually the only app that we use across every single bookkeeping client. So I think that kind of speaks to how well it works and how much we like it anyways. One thing that I've kind of been pushing my clients for is actually start using the fetch option more. So if for people that have never used it, Basically, you can connect online accounts to Dext and it'll fetch those bills automatically every month. I think that's a big time saver, and it's a super, super easy one to implement with clients because you can position it that way. Like, you don't have to send this receipt anymore. Dext will just fetch that automatically. Monique touched on it a bit on the rules. Game changer for sure. I think Monique, you probably agree there. Lots of options for the automation. So that definitely saves a lot of time with bookkeeping when you can set up all the supplier rules.
So you guys use those, you said you use it, Dex, on all of your clients. Monique, do you do the same thing?
I use it on just about all of my clients. Yes, it's one of those apps that's pretty universal in the tech stack.
Awesome. And it's just the ability to flow and automate all those incoming documents and transactions in a way that will flow back to QuickBooks in a clean and automated fashion. Is that probably the main reason why you guys use them with all of your clients?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yes, and we've just started using a new product called Approval Max, and Dex supports Approval Max as well. So there's some a higher level of approvals that's sort of built into that workflow as well.
Now, just in case people aren't aware, Dext is, formerly Receipt Bank. So sometimes there's a confusion. What's Dext? Brian, what happened from Receipt Bank to Dext? Like, what was the difference?
I don't think anything other than the name change. Not that I've come across, but definitely a good thing for you to point out for sure. Because I've definitely said Dext to clients and other professionals, and some are like, "Wait, what's Dext? What's this new app that I needed to know about?" But it was previously Receipt Bank, as you mentioned.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to our next app. Another one that's been around for a long time, Expensify. Brian, why don't you talk a little bit about Expensify, some of the key features and what you like about it?
Yeah, so this one's grown a lot since I learned about it back in 2017, actually, around when I was starting my firm. But since then, I mean, they've added a credit card, essentially, or a charge card. And one of the things that they have going on right now is from now until the end of 2021, Expensify customers can enjoy double cashback rewards. To qualify, you can spend more than $25,000 per month across all Expensify cards on any plan and get 2% cashback, or more than $250,000 per month across all Expensify cards on a paid plan and get 4% cashback. I think that's a winner for sure. So if you do the quick math there, it's a minimum cashback of $500 when you spend 25K plus, and then 10,000 on 250,000 plus. So I think that's a winner. So good thing there. Also with the card, set up in minutes, pretty quick to get that going. You can set smart limits on cards. I know that's been a big hit for some clients because what you can do, for example, if you have an office manager, maybe you don't want them to have as big a limit as, say, one of the owners. So you can set that limit and they don't have as much to spend. It has real-time compliance. They've named it Rogue Agent Detection, which basically can detect fraud. I like the name because it feels like you're a bit of a spy. Kind of interesting. They have a travel concierge as well, related to the card. They have Swipe to Win, where card holders have the chance to send a gift to a friend or family if they do win. Unbreakable Connection. So the card is essentially an extension of the app. So basically transactions can sync immediately whenever something is purchased through the card, and syncs directly into the app. Higher credit limits, no personal checks, daily settlements. So how it works is you buy something on the card, it'll settle the next day and take the money from your bank account. On the expense side, kind of similar to Dext, I would say, where it's essentially doing the receipt capture, right? So you snap the photos of receipts, puts it directly into an expense report. You can set up approval rules, reconcile cards directly through Expensify. You can integrate with accounting, HR, and travel apps, and you can sync your tax rates and GL coding directly from QuickBooks Online.
Those are some of the cool new features. I think one of the core features that Expensify started with was their ability to do expense report reimbursements. I'm a reformed road warrior, spent, probably 1 million miles on planes. And I've been using Expensify since 2011. And I've used a lot of expense reimbursement apps, and it's one of my favorite, I think, in terms of the ease for the end user to capture the transactions, capture the receipts, and then turn that into expense report. As a administrator or an accountant, I love the built-in reimbursement. So I don't have to go through the circuitous process of pushing it through a payroll system. So I've always found that their reimbursement of business-related expenses on personal cards is one of the best that I've experienced. And then, as you mentioned, all these new features, they're it's kind of like Bill.com. These guys are all expanding into new spaces and new areas. So it's kind of interesting to see how the industry is evolving.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any final thoughts on Expensify?
I mean, one last one, I guess. They have Expensify approved, so you can obviously be an Expensify partner. And with that, you can actually earn free CPE hours in the US. Unfortunately, not in Canada yet, but you can get it in the US. And then you get discounts as being an Expensify approved partner.
All right, let's talk about our next app, which is Relay. And Monique, you have a lot of experience with Relay. So tell us what it is, what you like about it. What is Relay?
So Relay is an online banking platform, and I really like it. We use it both in our firm, and we have several clients that use it as well. It has stress-free banking with no account fees, no minimum balances, up to 20 no-fee checking accounts, up to 50 virtual, physical, or virtual MasterCards. It makes payments via ACH, wire, or check. There's easy expense management of the cards for the entire team. It's a reliable bank feed to QuickBooks Online, and the statements are available in the QuickBooks Online Reconcile feature.
So it's a bank, and it's got really robust banking options. It's also, from what you're telling me, it's an app. It's got more app-like features. Tell us a little bit about that.
So sure, there's a great mobile app for both Apple and Android, and you can use that app to take pictures of checks if you're still depositing checks in this day and age. You also, as an accountant user, have a logon where you can access all of your client banking in one central dashboard. You can switch between clients. Super cool, right?
That's awesome. I wish every bank had that.
You can assign specific permissions to your team as well. So as an accountant user, you can also allow your team to see certain client accounts and then other team members to see other client accounts. They have great customer service. And it's definitely one of my favorite banks, if you want to call it a bank. I'm not sure if it's bank or technology or both, but really love it.
Is it a bank? Is it an app? What is it?
Right.
What about integrations with like QuickBooks and other fintech apps? How good are the integrations?
The integrations are amazing. I have not had any breakage. So the bank feeds don't break, and the integrations with other apps that it connects to, never had any problem with any of the integrations. The integrations are super tight. They have a paid version for $30 a month. They can also be your bill pay solution. And again, you can pay by ACH, wire, or check. And you can also, they have a small multi-level approval system that's based on dollar amounts. So you can have a single step or a multi-step approval workflow. And it syncs back and forth with QuickBooks Online. So if you've got your bills in QuickBooks Online, they're available in Relay to Pay. And once you've paid them, they sync back as paid to QuickBooks Online. And you can pay multiple bills in the same vendor batch. So unlike some of the other solutions out there, it's not necessarily a one bill to one payment. You can make one payment for multiple bills.
That's awesome. And I love what's going on with, kind of the neobank space where, it's like, is it an app? Is it a bank? Because the banks have not been innovating in their portals, in their tools, and their services. So I feel like something like a Relay is pushing the boundaries of what the customer and accounting experience should be. And all the banks should pay attention, because this is where we need to go. This gets me really excited. any final thoughts on Relay?
Yeah, I totally agree. Banks have to be better, and Relay's, definitely one of those ones to watch.
Awesome. So that kind of wraps up the banking, AP, and expenses app grouping. Let's talk a little bit about reporting apps. And Brian, why don't you lead us out on Fathom?
Yeah, I really, really like Fathom. I think it's got like extremely beautiful reporting. A couple functionalities just off the top. So seamless integration with all types of QuickBooks files. So everything gets pulled in directly from whatever you got set up and integrated with Fathom. Plug and play functionality. They have 51 built-in KPIs to choose from. Ready-made report templates that you can leverage within minutes of getting started, and quick start forecasting that allows you to jump right in as well. It's highly customizable. I'll even give an example. So for blueprints forecasting and reporting, I've actually created some drivers to build out the forecast that way. So it's worked really, really well that way. And also having those drivers set up, I can basically have, an Excel workbook where maybe I'm not putting something directly into Fathom, but I can take that workbook and get it loaded, and then it creates some of the metrics to be used for reporting. So super customizable that way. Very scalable. As you set up your reports that can be used across companies, that allows you to be more scalable with your reporting service if you're offering that to clients. And then it's very user-friendly. Kind of as I said at the top, it's very beautiful. Very nice to look at the reports, all kinds of different tables and charts and graphs and everything in between. And then just clicking around, it just makes sense on how to use it.
And Monique, you have some experience with Fathom as well, right?
Yeah, Fathom is our main reporting app that we use here at the firm, and all of the things that Brian said. As a couple of the other things I'd like to highlight is that they do consolidations with eliminations. So I've had to use that for some clients that we have that have multiple entities that they need to consolidate, and that works really super smooth. Beautiful reports. Right. And the goals section is really, really interesting and amazing, and watching how you reach those goals, that's been really helpful for clients to set goals and then to watch how they meet them. They do non-financial KPIs as well with outside sources of information that you can run. So you can get those non-financial KPIs that are really important to some clients. And their new forecast tool, which Brian says he's been experimenting with, it's getting better and better. So They're really building that out, and it's been a pleasure to watch that and to be a part of it.
Okay, let's move to an app that was new to the three of us, and we had a really great demo with them, which is Syft. Brian, you've had the most experience. You've evaluated Syft a while ago, but we had a refreshed demo, and they've done a lot. Tell me what your thoughts are around Syft.
Yeah, it was super interesting. I looked at them maybe, I want to say a year or two ago. And, at the time, we were already on Fathom, works well for us. At that time, I didn't really feel like it hit the checklist items that I wanted, but they've come a long way, absolutely. And just from the demo that we got, I was super impressed. So just quick feature list. They've got reporting, forecasting, consolidations with eliminations, and then some data quality assurance. And it's plug and play with QuickBooks Online. So similar to Fathom, you can plug it in and it'll pull in the financial data that you need. Interesting things that I think we were all kind of like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't know it could do that. It does look at transactional data, which is a bit different than most of these reporting softwares that we see out there. So you can look at customers, vendors, items, classes, locations, all the way down to that transactional data. So I thought that was super interesting, and it kind of got my gears churning as we were getting that demo. And kind of has a dual purpose is what I've kind of looked at it as. So number one, obviously an analytics platform with your month-end reporting and forecasting. And then number two was it could potentially help with month-end close assistance because it's using transactional data. So I thought that was kind of interesting because you get that dual purpose. Because I know, at Blueprint, for example, we have Fathom for reporting. We also use auto review for for month-end close, right? So it's interesting to have something like that where you actually get reporting and the potential use for month-end close in one. And then the other interesting thing that I noticed about their pricing structure is it's a bit different than say Fathom or other reporting options out there. You actually get unlimited clients at the level that you choose. I forget the exact naming convention of their levels, but let's call them, level 1, 2, 3, whatever level you pick there, you get that unlimited client access. So you realistically could put all of your clients on it and offer that value added service.
Monique, what did you, when we looked at Syft, what did you kind of take away? What were some of the things that got you intrigued?
It was very intriguing. The fact that they pull in information at the transactional level is huge. And the fact that you can kind of drill down from the dashboards and from the reports into the transactional data it is different than what I've seen in other reporting apps. And for that reason, I think it's worth looking at, because I think that you're going to be able to get better custom reporting on custom date ranges rather than just, monthly, quarterly, annually. So being able to plug in some custom date ranges and get some different reporting based on that is something that I've not seen in other apps. So that's exciting.
One of the things that I liked, they had a dashboard where you could see like summary data on all the clients that were connected and filter them by maybe team member. That's really cool. I've at times wanted to be able to, especially during the pandemic, been like, what's the health of all of my clients at a glance? And I liked that a lot. That was really neat. I think as you get a bigger amount of clients, if you could see key metrics on all your clients at once, that's pretty neat. So I like that. In addition to the things that you talked about, Brian, and noted, Monique, I liked that kind of headquarters type view of all clients.
Yeah, I think they had, correct me if I'm wrong, but was it a financial health score on the dashboard as well?
Yeah,
I think it had that, which is interesting to me because people understand percentages, right? People get that when you're, 80% out of 100, they understand what that means, right? So I thought that was kind of fascinating to see that, and it resonates with people. They understand what that percentage means.
Yeah. So that's Syft is a new app, Syft. Definitely take a look at them and see what they can do. I think it's something that got us all interested, and I know I've already had somebody in my team. I'm like, go check this out. This is
Nice.
what they're taking a look at. Let's shift gears again, and I'm going to take this next category with less help. Let's talk about e-commerce and inventory. We do a lot of e-commerce accounting. That's primarily all that we do here at Ledger Gurus. So the next two apps are key for doing e-commerce accounting. And the first one is Avalara. Now, Monique, I know you're here in the United States. Give me if I said sales tax, what's your response?
Scary.
It's awful. And if you're an online seller in particular, I mean, sales tax is a challenge for a lot of businesses, but the challenge you run into with e-commerce versus brick and mortar, you usually have a building in one location and you kind of set it up at your point of sale and you're done. E-commerce, you can sell anywhere in the United States. Oftentimes you'll sell globally, and you've got tax issues. So Avalara, bright orange. If you've been to a Connect, you've seen them. They got the bright orange colors, and they do a number of really cool things. So one of the things they do is they have the ability to manage those tax rates. So they verify addresses and maintain 13,000 United States tax jurisdictions. And yes, there are 13,000. It's insane, because you can have taxes at the state, county, city, and then there's other denominations of tax jurisdictions. So they keep track of what those tax rates are for the different addresses to ensure better accuracy. Brian, they have a good integration with Shopify up in your neighborhood, so they're kind of the provider of US sales tax, the kind of the underlying engine for Shopify Plus. They also have a Nexus tool. And if you haven't been in done US sales tax, Nexus is basically what is the economic activity that makes me liable for tax. And what happened, a couple of years ago was the Supreme Court here in the US changed the rules, basically did a ruling. It was known as Wayfair versus South Dakota, and basically opened it up that just economic activity could require sales tax. So they help track a business if they have activity that requires sales tax remission. Another challenge with sales tax, again, as Monique said, it is yucky, is managing the taxability rules across products. There's different taxability for different product types, believe it or not. Some products have different tax rules than others. So they can help keep track of your product catalog and apply the appropriate rates across different SKUs. They can account for sales tax holidays and tax law changes. They also can help with filing and remittance, another nightmare process where you have to go, and every state has their own portal and process that you have to go through of submitting the sales tax. And finally, they can help with tax exempt customers, keeping track of their tax exemption certificates, when they expire, become invalid, and provide alerts. So those are some of the key features. The bigger thing I'd say about Avalara is a big company. They're public. They've been acquiring other businesses, and bringing it back to you, Brian, I'm starting to see them expand into international taxes, really niche compliance issues. And it is where we focus on e-commerce. It's like taxes, sales tax and all these other type related taxes. It's a total nightmare for companies as they expand outside of one location. So I think Avalara is a great tool for that, and there's part of the reason you're seeing them grow and explode is because of the complexity of taxes. And if you ask me, it's not slowing down, it's only going to get worse. So you definitely need a good solution in your back pocket, because you don't want to do this by hand.
No, oh my God, especially with 13,000 jurisdictions.
Yeah. It's a yucky landscape here, Brian. Be glad you're in Canada. So.
Yeah.
Anyhow, any other thoughts, Monique? I mean, you've had a little bit of exposure to Avalara. Any other thoughts on Avalara?
Well, I think it is pretty telling that Shopify Plus, that's the product they have baked in. So it is a platform that really works, because they wouldn't be using them as their baked in provider if that weren't the case. So that's pretty telling. And like you said, just the taxability of items across, I'm in Massachusetts, and clothing is not taxable unless it's a single individual item of $100 or more. So you have to set those rules up just right to be able to, collect on what you need to collect on if you indeed have nexus in that individual state. And some of the states have the craziest rules, like I said before, pretty scary. So you want to be using a platform that understands those rules and regulations for sure.
And the rules change all the time, right? States will, they'll the legislatures get excited about stuff and want more taxes. So sales tax, I know I'm here based out of Utah, and they got real excited about changing the tax code a couple of years ago and wanted to revamp everything. So you're seeing a push towards more use-based tax versus just income tax in a lot of states. And, they're just going to tinker. So keeping track of those rules, it's almost impossible to do on your own. You really need a partner to do that. So let's transition to the other side of kind of an e-commerce problem, inventory. And the next app we want to talk about, you should, if you've been in the industry, in the QuickBooks ecosystem, you probably know them, which is Fishbowl. Fishbowl provides inventory, and they are like, they were kind of like the best known solution for QuickBooks Desktop, but they've done a lot in the last few years. They now have an online solution. They integrate with both QuickBooks Desktop and all versions of QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. they have some really key features that can help for people that are, if you're having to track your inventory by serial, lot, batch, revision number, expiration date, and more. And that's might be Greek to most accountants. That's kind of more of an operational problem, but that is, what we found with our customers doing, selling product is like inventory management is a big deal. And I think this year we've seen it particularly a big deal because of supply chain issues. So if people aren't keeping good track of it, they're going to feel it. They have tagging. Tags drastically reduce the time and energy it takes to locate and organize inventory. Quick side note, we've talked to customers. How do you know when to order inventory? And they'll literally go in and look in their warehouse and be like, okay, that shelf looks empty. So, and it's one of the first things that we tell people is like, you got to get an inventory tool. So tagging helps with some of that management of location and organization. Multiple costing methods. So you can cost the inventory. And this is a big deal, like good costing. There's a lot of inventory tools out there. There's a lot, but there's not many that get the accounting right. So Fishbowl has a long history in doing helping with the accounting side of things. And then finally, this is kind of critical in the e-commerce world we live in, is they integrate with 12 plus e-commerce platforms, including eBay, Amazon, Shopify, and more. And this is really important for somebody who's selling into multi-channel, because you have to, being able to manage what's available across channels is a huge problem. You might sell, let's say you sell 10 units on Shopify and now you're out. You need to make sure you not only update Shopify, but if you're also selling on Amazon, the ability to update that as well. So that having that tool like a Fishbowl that can manage the inventory counts across systems, across sales channels is really important. And then obviously come back to QuickBooks, like being able to synchronize that financial and order data back into your accounting software so you have a good picture of what's actually going on is super important. Any thoughts on inventory, Fishbowl? Brian and Monique, I know you guys don't have as much exposure to this, but any thoughts on this problem in general?
Inventory tools are much needed and are not always perfect, right? We usually have to do some sort of workarounds with inventory tools. So Fishbowl, like you said, has been around for a long time. They've been exposed to a lot of the actual issues and problems that come with trying to integrate with accounting programs. So I haven't had the pleasure of trying to use the QBO integration yet, but I'm excited to try it at some point because I think that it's probably a fairly decent tool. Having good information in your accounting system all the time rather than just at the end of the month is really important. So picking the right tool for your situation is important. And this is a tool that's been around for a while. So I think it's worth checking them out.
Yeah, I like that you pointed out that it has multiple marketplace integrations. I think that's a game changer in my opinion, because imagine having to manage that inventory across all 12 marketplaces if that's where people are selling. Right now you've got it in one spot. It's all connected. It's, as people buy stuff, it's adjusting that inventory for them. I think that's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, Stephen, I know your firm is an e-commerce specialist. How many sales channels are people generally or companies generally selling across? At least I would assume more than one typically.
Oftentimes with small sellers, they'll start out with one. They'll either you'll find that they'll start out at Amazon or maybe Shopify, but over time they expand and you kind of move it down to some secondary channels like Walmart, eBay, etc. But it can get really deep really quickly. So as you start, looking at very niche marketplaces, there can be a lot. But usually, and Brian and I, we were talking about this, like Shopify and Amazon, that's kind of the 1-2 punch with a lot of online sellers. If they haven't expanded into the other, they usually will. What do you find, Brian? Do you find that's the case?
Yeah, I think, we were talking a little bit before this, but like 25% of our clients are e-commerce, definitely not to the point where we're 100% like Ledger Gurus, but most of our clients, I would say almost all of them are on either Shopify or Amazon or both. And then they have those kind of secondary marketplaces, you said, that they're just there because, it's either to expand into them or people are reaching out through there.
Yeah, so I think inventory management before last year, it wasn't as big of a deal. There was it was really easy to get, quick fulfillment of product. Everything I'm reading, those, we thought it was going to be fixed. It's not fixed. Most likely we're going to see inventory supply chain issues for a while. And I think businesses that haven't done good inventory management, it's time to do it. So take a look at Fishbowl. It's good. It's an option out there for your inventory management and could help your clients. So let's shift into our last category of apps, and we are going to call this the practice and business management apps. We'll start with AP Intego. So Monique, you're the one who has the most experience here. Tell us a little bit about AP Intego, what you like, what the features are.
They are a platform and an agency for most of the major business insurance carriers. And the nice thing about the platform is that you have a dashboard, so you can toggle. You can toggle between policies, you can toggle between carriers, you can toggle between customers if you're an accountant who supports multiple clients that are using AP Intego. Most of the payroll companies that do pay-as-you-go workman's comp insurance use it as their built-in platform for workman's comp. So a lot of times that's the way people get introduced to it. And as an app provider, if you're using, if your client's using any of the AP Intego products, then getting on the dashboard is a no-brainer. It's a great way to get certificates of insurance. You can look at your policies. You can see the payments that have been applied there. So it's not just a portal individually, but that sort of dashboard feel across the whole platform is really nice.
Cool. And the managing insurance, it's one of those things that everybody hates. It's like, including the accountants, right? I don't know if anybody enjoys that part of a business.
No.
So, what would you say the best benefit of using that versus kind of doing it the old school way?
Well, so if you say, you had your general liability policy with one carrier and you had your workman's comp with another carrier and you had separate portals and you'd have to log into both of those places to find out what your policy dates are and, where you can get certificates of insurance and do you have to call your agent? All of that is sort of non-existent problem if you're using AP Intego because it's all in one central location for you. And I as an accountant, I always ask my clients for copies of all their policies because I want to know what their policy periods are, right? I want to know when their premiums are going to be due. I want to know if they're not paying their premiums because they don't know that they need to be paying their premiums. So just having access to all of that information in one centralized location, I think is a huge benefit.
Awesome. So let's shift gears to our next app. Question for you. When's the last time you guys did an e-signature of something?
Yesterday.
Awesome.
I don't know, probably yesterday or this week or last week maybe.
I think we've seen since the pandemic, e-signature, it was already getting big. It's become huge. And kind of one of the name brands out there is our next app, which is DocuSign. So DocuSign is an e-signature product. It's easy to use for businesses of all sizes. It has customizable branding, so you let small businesses have a more professional look and feel. It's legally binding and accepted and secure. So, you can, if somebody ever disputes a contract, it holds up. Automates manual processes. I hate I hate anybody that doesn't allow e-signature. I'll just say that right now. If I have to sign, if somebody says you got to, here's this document, print it out, sign it, scan it, give it back to me, I'm just like, oh. So, the process of e-signature, if you think about a business, there's so many places you're having to sign, right? When a new employee is coming on board, there's usually some documents that need to be signed, contracts, and it goes on. They have a number of integrations with a lot of platforms, over 350 integrations. So it is set up to work with other apps. If you think about all the different things, I mean, we think about it in the accounting space, right? Think about payroll. There's often signatures that go into the payroll process. Stuff like we were just talking about around insurance or anything like that, all the business end of things. Talked about sales tax. There's usually signatures you have to do there. So there's, if you think about it, there's signatures all over a business. And as we move increasingly remote and online and hybrid, whenever we get back to a more in-person environment, I just think e-signature is going to be more and more. And finally, they have an award-winning mobile app. I love it when I can sign a document on my phone. That's one of the things that they provide. So you can get a signature request and sign on the phone. You can use the app to send those signature requests. So DocuSign, if you don't have an e-signature product in your toolkit, or if your clients don't, it's a nice win for improving business processes. Any thoughts around e-signature, or what you guys have found around managing signed documents with your clients?
Yeah, that open API and being able to integrate with other things for all technology is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
As far as DocuSign or using it, I'm with you. If I have to print something out, sign it, and scan it, like, that's craziness in this day and age. And with more work at home situations, I think things like DocuSign and e-signatures are becoming more and more prevalent. Finally, thank goodness.
Yeah.
There's no reason why they shouldn't be.
I mean, I've had documents sit on my desk for weeks because I had to sign them physically. Whereas if I get an e-signature request, it's more likely to get done. So I think if we look at kind of across the apps we're talking about, when you can take physical processes and digitize them, it's a business enabler, and it's critical. All right, let's shift gears and talk about our last app. It's a veteran of the QuickBooks space, something that if you've been to Connect, you've probably seen them around. Practice Ignition. Monique, why don't you tell us what you like about Practice Ignition and the features and et cetera?
Yeah, so this one I've been using since 2016 as well. And I have to say, it was probably the app that I adopted that was the biggest game changer in being able to scale my firm. It really changed bringing those engagement letters in-house and getting those contracts signed and making it just a simple, easy process. I was able to, I have several versions of the engagement letter based on the type of work we're going to use. That's all in a library. My services are all in a library. I mean, I can literally put together an engagement and get it signed and effective in 5 minutes. And I've done it. I mean, I've literally put the thing together, sent it out and had it signed in minutes. So no longer were you checking back in. Did you get that letter? Did you print it out? Did you sign it and scan it and email it back to me? This is the way we should be doing business. We should say, hey, these are the services I want, to give you, and this is when I want to start doing it. Are we agreed? Yes, we're agreed. Good. We're under contract. Minutes. It literally changed everything and made the adoption of those cloud services that I was starting to get going. That was a cornerstone. I can't say enough good things about it. The features are getting better and better. We're able to do packages now and offer options. So you can do 3 separate options and your client can pick the one that they want and move forward with it. Again, unlimited services in the libraries for the engagement letters and the services. I can interchange them. It's just a drop. I can put personal messages now. We can add brochures and PDFs. We can add videos to tell our clients what's in this engagement. Hey, when we had our conversation, we talked about, this, that, and the other thing, and here are those features in this engagement letter. And I want you to know that this is part of, what we discussed previously. So, and I want to just shout out to my rep, Reed, who I just spoke to yesterday. He's been with me since the beginning, and I have 2 actual accounting firms, and I have 2 separate instances of Practice Ignition. I use them in both firms, and it's, again, one of the cornerstones that I use. It's very powerful, automates a lot of things, and gets those collections. So I'm assuming most of you guys do too. You collect ahead of time on your engagements. So
Yep.
Our monthly reoccurring, and I have some weekly reoccurring as well, but monthly reoccurring engagements are just auto billed. Practice Ignition takes care of all of that for me. Brian, I know you're a proponent as well.
Yes,
What
definitely.
good things do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think I love the new proposal editor. I love the videos, being able to embed those into the proposal. I do one for every single proposal that I send, just a custom video. It just helps, like you said, explain what's in the proposal a lot easier up front, because it's the first thing the client sees, or the prospect, I guess, at that point. And just the integrations as well that it has. Some are direct. I think they only have a few there, but they do integrate with Zapier, which is interesting because then you get access to like thousands of apps to move information around. So I think, as you said, like no-brainer. I think it's a no-brainer as well. And anyone that's using Word right now for their proposals, just stop doing that. Go get Practice Ignition.
I agree. We started there. We did the word dance, printing them out, or saving them.
So did we.
It's a common thing when you start your firm. You don't really think about this process, but I think as you mentioned, Monique, the library too, as you get more mature as a firm, oftentimes there's a library of a set of services that you're putting together, and being able to manage those in a dynamic fashion. Big deal. You guys mentioned the collection of payments. Monique, are you using that feature in Practice Ignition?
I am using that feature, yes.
So your customers are paying you through Practice Ignition as part of their engagement.
Right. It's Stripe on the back end, but yeah, it's all built in, and they can, I can decide ahead of time whether I want them to pay by ACH or credit card, or I could offer either option to them. So, and yeah, it's pretty seamless, and it syncs right back to QuickBooks Online, and there's no work involved, which is the way we like this technology to work, right?
Yeah.
We plan it, we set it up, we execute, and it works. And this one works. It's a good one.
Awesome. Any final thoughts on Practice Ignition?
Stop using Word.
Awesome. So that is all of our apps. Like, any final thoughts? We've gone through a whole bunch of apps. Like, any final thoughts or any features we missed that you want to go back to? If you were to say, what's your favorite app amongst this collection, what would you say? We'll just maybe wrap up there. So Monique, what's your favorite app of the ones that we used here today, or we talked about today?
So internally for the firm, Practice Ignition is my favorite app. For the favorite client-facing app, I'm going to have to go with Dext. It's been a long time tech in my app, stack, and it just works. You got to love when they just work continuously and they get better. And those two are probably, if I pick 2 favorites, those would be that.
Awesome. Brian, if you were to pick 2 that you really love of this stack that you've used, what would you pick?
I'd probably go the exact same 2, to be honest. I think that, like Monique said, they just work. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. As long as they work and what I want them to do, that's perfect for me.
Awesome. You guys got me sold. We're a big Bill.com shop, so Bill.com is one of my favorites for payables automation. I have a hard time picking a second after that. I also find there's a lot of apps I wasn't exposed to here that are really interesting. So I would encourage those who haven't, have had a chance to watch this to take a look. That's all the time we have today. Check out all of these apps on the partners page at QuickBooksConnect.com. Thanks for watching.